Come on, baby. Let's try the lift again. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. Yes, you can do it. Yes. Oh, yes, I can do it. Yes.
Are you playing with your toys again?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Ready.
Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we like to take a look back at movies that shaped our generation. Today we're looking at 1987's Dirty Dancing, which stars Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey. I'm Ford.
And I'm Ed, but first, please like and subscribe to Retro Film Review. It only takes a click, and it really helps us out. Dirty Dancing is a coming-of-age film about a 17-year-old who comes to the Catskills with her family for a summer vacation. With one mishap with the watermelon, she gets involved with the staff and learns about love, life, and how much she adores her dad.
That's true, yeah. Well, I think she always adored her dad, but I think it really came into focus whenever she let him down and he let her down and all that, but we'll get into that.
It put it to the test,
Yeah.
their love.
I mean, I think this was a great period piece where it's set in 1963. They're going there for their summer vacation, which I don't know, and I don't think the film says, I know it was more than a week. But was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Because, I mean, they're there for talent shows, they're there for this and that.
I would imagine it's probably about a 2-week period. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this film.
Well,
But,
yeah.
but I think that it's kind of one of the things that, obviously this movie does a lot of separation between classes, which is socioeconomic classes.
Yeah.
And so you see that within the guests and the staff, the owners. And so but my point is saying that the people that go there, this is like something they do every year. So I think you're there for a while whenever you kind of do that. And the people know each other. They get to know the staff because the staff is kind of coming back every year. And so there's a lot of relationships that form from these vacations.
Yeah. And a lot of the people that are coming here, because obviously it's a pretty expensive place to stay, especially for a couple weeks, especially in 1963. There aren't all these deals that you can find online. So they have those relationships, but the people attending kind of look down on the staff. Well, a lot of the staff is like college students that
They're
are
college students, but they also could be college students like the character of Robbie, who was going to an Ivy League school.
Right.
But you notice the staff members also had their own levels. Those that worked directly in the hotel were probably a higher level of kid or whatever, versus the ones that were
the entertainers. They put those on the
bottom. But you're talking about the year, and I think we need to kind of point out that this is really. It takes place, like you said, in the early 60s, but it kind of brings in a lot of the 1950s values. It's right before the Vietnam War was really kind of taking off, and you had a lot of everything was got to be very politicized. So everything with this group had to fit within certain norms. It was a lot of I call it the Leave It to Beaver, attitude with the way that we treat family members and each other.
Right. I like the character. It shows the simplicity of a 17-year-old that's going to try to find her way. She's coming out of high school. She's about to come out. Actually, she did, because she was about to go to college, and then.
But she's a very idealistic teenager. She wants, she would be part of the Peace Corps.
That's what she said she's joining.
Yeah.
Because her dad was like, baby's going to change the world.
Right.
Whereas, what's her sister going to do? She's going to decorate it.
But with the family dynamics, the dad would almost kind of probably would prefer her to go into a doctor, lawyer, kind of this whatever type field.
Well, he's a doctor, so he wants that for his.
Which we find out later in the movie. We don't know that up front, do we?
Yeah, when they arrive at Kellerman's, which is the resort. Mr. Kellerman comes out and says, Doc so-and-so, or he says so-and-so, he did whatever with the procedure, and and I'm feeling a lot better now, and your husband did this for me. I mean, it's known that.
Okay. You get baby who comes in, and like you said, we talked about that she's got the idealistic, view of the world. She really kind of gets her eyes open when she, by chance, she's strolling around the grounds and in the wrong spot and tries to help out one of the staff members and gets kind of thrown into their world, and where you get involved with the dirty dancing, which is really just the point. There's nothing really dirty about it. It's just the fact that they're, it's just, you're dancing closer in. It's a little bit more sensual.
A little more sensual? It's a lot more sensual. You got to remember, like you said, you're coming off the 50s values where they had all the sock hops and everything else. So they weren't really kind of doing this mainstream.
It was the basement dancing.
Yeah, but as you can even tell, when we talk about the socioeconomic classes, so even when she comes to where they're at, which was just the staff and entertainments, they're after hours, they all look at her like, what are you doing here?
Right.
You don't fit into our world. And it's like, then it was like almost role reversal. And so, I loved how she has that line, because she sees Patrick Swayze, Johnny Castle, and she just immediately is goo goo gaga over him when she first saw him. And then he comes up, what is she doing here, cousin? And, I carried a watermelon.
Yeah.
we start from there, and they kind of make fun of her. So then she leaves for the night, but she comes back. She wants to learn how to dance. She wants to do different things. She wants to be part of that scene because, again, as we said, it's a coming-of-age movie, so she's still trying to find herself.
Well, her eyes were open to this different world that she never got to experience. She's never seen this before. Because that her dad and her mom are not going to allow her to be part of this. And
her older sister, Lisa, definitely wasn't a part of that scene.
Right.
So
it's just, it was something new to her that was very exciting. And I do got to mention that, Jennifer Grey, who obviously played this role, her nuances of how you can just see in her eyes, like the wonder of how, when she saw this and how she portrayed the one, her longing to be part of this, but also the goofiness of being unsure of yourself, trying to find your way.
Yes, very much so. And when you said when she auditioned and everything for this, it came down between her and Sarah Jessica Parker for this. And then for Johnny Castle, it was Patrick Swayze and I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, Billy Zane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From Titanic?
Yeah. So they were looking at the different chemistry and everything like that, and it just went with them. I mean, you could just see that instant chemistry, which is kind of funny because when we did Red Dawn, we talked about, these two were in the movie Red Dawn, and then years later when they come to this one, Jennifer Grey said, "Nuh-uh, anybody but Patrick Swayze."
Because they didn't have a good time.
They didn't have anything. However, during the screening or the audition, I mean, it looked like they were basically a couple. I mean, they just were like this. And then they come to find out they didn't really like each other. Well, then Patrick, when they had a closed-door meeting with her, I think they got a lot of emotions and stuff out. And then they're like, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
And then there's movie magic, as we say.
It really is lightning in a bottle. A lot of this. Lightning in a bottle.
This whole movie was lightning in a bottle. And there's a Netflix special called, The Movies That Made Us. I highly, highly recommend that you watch it. I think this is like the first episode or second episode or something. Definitely watch it. You get a lot more behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you talk about lightning in the bottle, all the major studios passed this up, like every single one of them.
Yeah.
And they did get a green light, but then the guy got fired, so the project got canceled. So it went to
Vestron
Videos. They went. It was like straight to, we'd say now DVD, but straight to VHS cassette stuff.
Yeah.
And they had a budget of $6 million or under $6 million or something.
The final budget was like $6 million.
Yeah. And so, trying to get the actors and trying to get this. I mean, I don't know how they afforded to make this because Jennifer Grey had already obviously done Red Dawn. This came out in '87, so in '86 she was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. With again, it was a side character. This was more. These two were the main characters. Right. Patrick Swayze had already done Roadhouse and Red Dawn and so many other films. It's like you figure their money. Jerry Orbach, who was her dad in here, he'd been in so many things.
They saved the money on the girl who played Lisa. That was where they saved the money.
Your favorite character?
Oh, I mean, I know that she was not supposed to be able to sing, So maybe that's why she was such a good actress, because that song that she did was horrendous. Horrendous.
And all I could think about when I watched it was, they had to probably do take after take after take, so the entire cast and crew had to hear her do that over and over and over. And it's like, even with some of the music, which we'll get into the soundtrack, but there's songs that you love, but if you had to listen to it over and over and over for hours and hours, for days and days, you would end up probably hating the song.
Yes.
Because we got to do another take, start it back over. Got to do another take, start it back over.
That's how we felt about that Titanic song when it came over the radio decades ago.
Yeah. Why don't we get into some of the actual characters, like break down each character?
Yeah.
Why don't we start with Baby?
Okay. So, obviously, the movie, the central character is her and her arc from going from naive to kind of eyes open. And also learning how to take, I guess, to be not selfish and to do things for others that could potentially harm her.
Right.
Because that's one of the big moments in the movie of self-realization is whenever she told her dad that, of what had happened, and then he didn't, he blamed her for giving the money that he had taken from her to go to give for the medical procedure, which was the abortion that
back alley
that
abortion.
Patrick Swayze's dance partner had, but the fact of when she had to stand up for Johnny whenever he was accused of the theft,
right, and
saying that she had spent the night with him, that's a hard thing to say in front of your dad, especially when you're 17 years old. So other things we could will go along with that, but we're not going to get into that here. But the fact that, as Johnny said, that nobody's ever stood up for me in my life,
right,
and the fact that you did that means more to me than anything else.
Right.
And so I think that just the fact that person that drove up there in that car would not have done that. And so I think that that's her personal growth, and obviously you want to.
Well, she also, like you said, had her eyes open whenever Penny, which was the dance partner for Johnny, which is Patrick Swayze, when she found out she was pregnant and she was going to have an abortion, Baby is so naive. She's like, oh, it's going to be okay. It's just like she has those blinders on. She doesn't understand how the real world is. She's in her bubble. And so not only does she go and get money from her dad, which is absolutely hilarious because, his dad's like, this is 1963.
And it was $600, right?
No, it was $250.
$250?
Which is probably about $600 now. I don't know. But because of inflation.
Probably about $1,000.
Well, yeah. But, so in 1963, asking for $250.
It depends if it was 2019 money and 2022 money.
And so the dad says, what do you need that for? Well, I can't tell you that.
But it's helping somebody.
But it's helping somebody. It's not illegal, is it? And I'm going to look at you guys, and she's like, no, Daddy, it's not. And he's like, of course not. I shouldn't have even asked that. It's like, as a dad of a daughter, and a son, if I would have said, it's not illegal, that pause. Yeah. That pause means yes, it is.
No.
No, would I lie?
Yes. And the space pause.
Space pause. Daddy, is that really you? Yes. Would I lie?
Same look, yeah.
That's all I could think about when that. But I'm like, your pause, automatically you're lying to your dad.
Right.
So it's kind of skipping. We'll get back into that when we talk about Penny. But yeah, everything snowballs for her in a relatively short amount of time.
Right.
From she has to go get her dad to help Penny after the botched abortion, or I guess the abortion happened, but she was cut up pretty bad, so he had to fix her. And then, probably a couple days later, maybe not even a week later,
she had to tell him.
And then she had to say, "Oh, by the way, I was with him, so there's no way he was stealing people's stuff."
Yeah.
And ironically, she guessed exactly who it was who was stealing.
Yeah.
The older couple. But no, she was definitely a different person, like you had said.
Right.
Going up there, and when she was leaving, definitely more self-confident. I don't know if she was still going to go in the Peace Corps after that. but I think
Well,
it gave her a newfound.
Yeah, nobody knows really what happens at the end of this, but
Right.
you know. So, and can we go on into Johnny now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Johnny really went from being what you outwardly appears to be a very confident man who's, you know, a great dancer and has this beautiful partner and seems that he has everything. But really kind of grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, didn't have a lot of money, was kind of living from paycheck to paycheck, and had so much self-doubt about himself.
Well, yeah.
And it took, you know, Baby basically to show him that all of his self-worth and that you have your own special gifts that people recognize, and just because you're not a doctor or a lawyer, you have value in this world, which he never felt.
Well, nobody had ever stood up for him, like you had mentioned that when she did, because everybody was just always out for themselves.
No.
You know, his friends, his relatives, everybody was out for themselves. So he even mentions in the movie, he's like, you know, last week I was eating juju beads to stay alive, and now women are, you know, shoving $100 bills or room keys in my pants. You know, it's like, and, you know, she's like, oh, okay, you were using them. He's like, no, they were using me. But even though Johnny was kind of insecure on the inside, he still had that, like, leadership ability where he was taking care of Penny. He was taking care of his staff, making sure, I mean, his staff,
well,
his
and
coworkers.
he was kind of the leader that kind of the staff, you know, looked towards. You know, even though I think, Kellerman. I mean, even though they kind of all did the same thing, but
they went to him.
Everybody went to him, it seemed like.
Yeah, and that's probably also why he kind of lit up the room when he came in there, and Jennifer Grey, I won't say saw him the first time, but when she carried the watermelon.
Yeah,
that's
exactly, yeah. This kind of moves us into the character of the dad. The dad is very much, you know, a by the book kind of person, built from the 40s and 50s mentality, as in I'm the man of the household and everybody does exactly what I say and follows my rules, and I shouldn't have to question them at all.
Right.
And so he definitely, once he realizes that, you know, his daughters are, as he says, not who I thought you were, I think he has a lot of self-reflection to kind of figure out, what does this mean for me as a parent? What does this mean for my relationship to my daughter? And Baby kind of comes to him and just kind of brings it to a head and just says, look, yes, I know I've let you down, but you've let me down as a father. You know, you're supposed to love me unconditionally, and you didn't. And I'm coming to you for help, and you are not helping me. And I still love you, but I need your help.
Yeah, you wanted me to help people, but you meant people like you.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. And so
I can tell you, we kind of talked about this as dads of daughters. That scene gets us both. We're still macho. Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
What I really like to get to, it to me just makes this movie so much better, is accentuates everything, is this little vinyl record right here. They pick the best songs for these scenes, and they're ones that just, I don't know, just elevated the music. My only criticism, and this is one that I totally over it because all the music is great, but again, I don't like where you mix music from that time with music of current times.
Which ones were current?
Well, you have Patrick Swayze. She's Like the Wind.
Well,
and Overload and the.
Well, you know what the reason they had to do that is because with their small budget, the songs that the screenplay writer originally wanted, they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Well, except for Be My Baby, they finally wheeled and dealed and got that one.
Kind of had to get that one.
Yeah, kind of had to get that one. But the other ones, and so Patrick Swayze, again, if you watch that special, you know, Patrick Swayze's like, hey, you know, I've written a song, this and that, and it's like, perfect. And then the main song at the end, I love that special because they're like, we went through every cassette.
It was the last one.
It was the last one. They're like, if it's not this, what are we going to do? And they played it. Who play that again? And of course, that's really the song everybody knows, in my opinion, from this.
And like I said, they're all great songs, so I give it a pass. But it still throws me out a little bit.
It doesn't throw me out at all. That's why we're different. I would say that this and even like Forrest Gump are probably two of the best movie soundtracks that there are.
That showcase.
I don't mean even the period, just complete, just soundtracks from a movie. You know, because you could say, okay, the era and this and that, but I mean, if you think of another movie, that's fine. But
yeah, I mean, I'll get it to you. I'll throw things in like Purple Rain.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but I do think that as far as I'll say this as a compilation type soundtrack, where you pull songs from all other popular types of music. I will say this and Forrest Gump are two of the best.
Yeah.
And I keep forgetting the song, but it's the
Love is Strange?
Yeah, The Love is Strange. That one, I think, is probably the one that nobody really knew before this movie. Everybody knew it afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, what a scene it was when they're in there practicing dancing, and then she, it comes on there. We're not going to sing it or react, whatever.
But I've got friends of mine that reenact that scenes still today. It's him when he leaves, but...
Or before I got here. Yeah. See, we can edit this, so you don't know if we did that and then had to edit it out.
But you know, if you're listening to this in your CD and that comes on, you know that you're
doing the guitar part
that
Patrick Swayze does.
Still, like, doesn't answer. Shaking your head like Patrick Swayze. But anyways, this is such an iconic, and it sold 32 million copies.
Yeah.
It was platinum 11 times, and it was 18 weeks on number one that it sat there.
That's crazy.
Well, it's crazy, especially when everything is, on Spotify. We don't have those records anymore.
Right. But you mentioned it before about this entire movie. Everything about it was lightning in a bottle. I mean, from almost literally not being made at all.
Yeah.
Now the screenwriter had another movie, I can't remember it, but it starred Michael Douglas beforehand, and she tried to incorporate Dirty Dancing into it.
It's
but anyway,
my turn.
It's
Michael Douglas and Jill Clayburgh.
Okay, so I mean, from that to not getting the real music that they wanted, so having to change that. The director, Emil, he'd only directed like a 30-minute documentary or something, so this was his first feature film. At first you had the two stars who didn't like each other.
Yeah.
Everything
was against it.
They had to film at two different locations because they couldn't afford, which we didn't talk about. We don't have to spend a lot of time. They basically filmed at Lake Lure in North Carolina, or close enough to there.
Yeah, that was for all the
Mountain Lake or something.
Lake Lure and Lake Junaluska. And so that was all the exterior and the staff quarters.
Right.
Was that. And then the hotel was in Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Which is still there, and they have different plaques and stuff showing where different things were.
The season was changing too quick.
Yeah.
And so that's why they had to kind of find somewhere really quick. And unfortunately, the big iconic lake scene where the lifts in the lake is no longer there. It is all dried up. No, it is all dried up. It's a shame.
So the gazebo's there where they had where they showed some of
the dad was
with the dad and that emotional scene there. So you could go sit on the gazebo and just look at a bunch of grass and small trees growing. But that's okay.
Let's go to our time warp rating.
Do you want me to go
I'll
first?
let you go first.
Oh, I have literally been thinking about this all day long. And I may surprise you with this. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'll give this a 10. I gave Alien a 9.5, which was my highest so far. So obviously this is the top, and I discussed this with my wife and everything, because I was like, she said it couldn't be made like this because you probably have a bigger budget and this and that, but the script, if you go strictly on the script, could you make this movie again? It's set in 1963.
Which helps. That gives you some bonus points.
And I think that's really what set me over the top, is because if you made this movie today, but you're doing it, as you're in 1963, you're still going to have the socioeconomic stuff. You're still going to have, the taboo of the abortion, which kind of still is today. But, you have all these different things, and you can still have the same storyline. You're in the mountains, so you could say, cell phones don't work. There's no cell reception. We wanted to make it, an environment where you're not bothered by technology or something. I mean, but to me, you could take this exact script and make it again. Now that we've seen this movie, would they make it the same way? Probably not. There'd probably be a lot more stuff into it. We wouldn't have probably maybe even the same chemistry between the lead actors. I don't know, but
yeah, I think I'll give it a 9. Because if you're taking the same script but not setting it, you're talking about not setting it in 1963, but setting it in today's world.
No. I'm saying set it in 1963, so it is still a period piece.
Okay, well then that's.
But you're just making it today, not making it as it's like happening today. Because then I'd say
you'd have to. I mean, you have to give it a 10 because it's such a period piece, and you can kind of.
Well, that's why I did that.
Yeah.
If you made it today, no, it wouldn't.
Well, but So
I'll
give it a
2022.
10. I'll give it a 10 for the time warp.
Yeah.
But I am going to just kind of note that if you did make this script in today's world,
it wouldn't be a 10.
But it wouldn't be a 10. But I'm going to say is that the story elements and the problems that they present in this movie, the abortion, the socioeconomic levels, parent-child relationships, they all still hold weight today, and was still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing that we're still arguing the same things that people were arguing 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
We still haven't progressed as a society to where we can get past these socioeconomic boundaries or whatever or that we're dealing with. So yes, I think in that aspect you could still do this in today's world, but as a script wise, you could totally do this.
Perfect.
All right. All right, so let us know what you think about Dirty Dancing. Is it one of your top 10 favorites? Is it one you watch every year? Do you practice down in your basement? All right.
Or your bedroom?
But like and subscribe. It really helps us out. All it does is you hit that little join button and hit that bell notification so you never miss another retro film review. Bye.